All right, so this is a short webinar slash Zoom meeting that Deborah and myself have put together, just in case some of you are new and you're not sure who we are and you stumbled across this video because you're awesome. My name is JB Tobin. I am the race director for Breakaway Athletic Events. We're a small events company here in Northern Colorado, and we've got one of our bigger races coming up for the season. It's the Last Call Triathlon. Probably just under 4 weeks here. I think we're about 3.5 weeks out. So it's an exciting time, and it's a very beginner-friendly race. So for 2024, we have some great sponsors on board, and Deborah from Plant Forward Endurance Nutrition, she's the one waving on the screen, is one of our great sponsors. So she focuses on, in case you couldn't get it from the title of her company, plant nutrition, focused on fueling, energy, recovery, and a whole slew of other things, some of which we will lightly talk about today because she's all about empowering athletes and helping them feel and fuel their best for race days. So Deborah, feel free to say hi, introduce yourself, give us some of your credentials, and then maybe we can just chit chat a little bit about some of your strategies for the upcoming race.
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. Like JB said, I'm Deborah Gertner. I'm a registered dietitian, which means I am trained to feed people in every stage of life and every disease state, condition, etc. And my really big focus and my big passion is helping people move toward a plant-based diet. So incorporating all of those fantastic fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds that help us fuel our bodies, especially for these epic races that we get to do in beautiful Colorado or wherever you happen to be. So helping you fuel your body, helping you recover, just helping you feel your best. So I've been a dietitian now for 10 years. I've been a vegan for almost 15. So this is literally what I do.
Awesome. Yeah, I had no idea when we started chatting a year ago or a year and a half ago. I had no idea it was that long. So that's really great. Good
yeah, absolutely. So everyone I know who goes vegan does so for all different reasons. So, a lot of us, it's the health side of things. A lot of folks, it's the animal side of things. But regardless, as long as we're making it all about fueling your body as best as we can and eating the foods that taste good and help you feel good, like everybody benefits.
Yeah, that's a big win-win, which has always been one of the messages that Breakaway, the events company that I have, has focused on. We've always focused on plant-based, vegan-friendly at all of our races, not only at the aid stations, but for post-meal snacks, post-meal food, post-meal drinks whenever possible. So yeah, we always try to encourage that. So this was kind of a natural partnership that formed about a year ago between Deborah and myself, and it's just been great having her on board this year. So yeah, it's just, we're excited to be able to just give back a little bit and share some of our thoughts and insights, and not bore anybody too much. We're going to keep it brief for you guys out there. So yeah, I guess we'll just dive right in. The Last Call Triathlon is a short distance tri. So for those of you that don't know, there are 6 races happening that morning. They are all within a sprint distance or less. So essentially the longest race there is a sprint distance triathlon, which is 750 meter swim, a 10-mile bike ride, and a 5K run at the end. Now, just below that, there's the super sprint triathlon, which is 450 meters, a 5-mile bike loop, and then a 2.1 mile run. So again, really short, really fun, really beginner friendly. And some athletes that might have clicked onto this video might not understand, well, why are you guys putting all this nutrition stuff together? They're short distance races. I don't, as an athlete, think about that. But our purpose is focusing on beginners, because a lot of times newbies don't necessarily know what to eat or how to pre-fuel or how to just maybe feel their best. And we also think it's beneficial for elites or the ones that are coming out really with experience and really do know what they're doing, because this is a great race to come to be a part of, and to test your nutrition if you want to focus on longer distance racing and experimenting with this type of carbohydrate or this type of calorie or this type of hydration. this is the race to come do it at, and Deborah is your gal to check in with and say, I'm going to mess around with this. Do you think I'm going to explode? So there's really fun stuff like that you can test. So yeah, that's kind of the lead in, and that's what we're thinking about. But yeah, Deborah, I will fire a question at you. You answer however you think is best, because you are the expert here. A lot of questions that I get from athletes are obviously food related, which is what we're talking about. One of the most common ones is, what should I eat the week before the race? What about hydration? What do I do, 7 days out leading into race day, race weekend?
Absolutely. So this is one thing that I'm really passionate about. I've given a whole bunch of talks on how to fuel for race week. So a lot of folks might focus on like, what are you eating the night before? I like to look out the week before. So basically it's all about doing everything we can to calm down your GI system to make sure that we're not going to have any unexpected surprises come race day. No one likes stomach cramping. No one likes bloating, nausea, like any of the other nasty things like normally. But especially when you're in the middle of a race, you really don't want to have to think about that. So I like to keep it simple. So thinking about low FODMAP fruits and vegetables. That's a lot of like your leafy greens, your berries, your citrus fruits, some of your starchy vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, winter squash. Of course, like zucchini, cucumbers are all fantastic. So kind of focusing on those, focusing on a lot of rice, corn tortillas are also fantastic. If you look at maybe a couple days out from the race, if you're a bread eater, maybe switch from a whole grain bread to a more, slightly more processed bread, maybe like a sourdough or a basic white bread.
Is that because it's potentially more easily digested, or just
absolutely
stomach in general?
Yeah. So when I talk about low FODMAP stuff, it means that these are foods that are less likely to cause symptoms in your GI system. So it helps to calm down your microbiome. So maybe those the bacteria in our gut are a little bit less active, which is fine for race day. So, we're not talking about doing this long term. This is just for a week. So that way, we're not retaining as much water there. We're not producing as much gas. Still want you hydrated. So you're going to drink a lot of water. Maybe throw in a little bit of extra salt, especially in the days leading up to the race, especially if it's going to be hot that day, which it's September in Colorado. It could be 40 degrees and it could be 80 degrees. We have no idea. But
in general, it's hard to predict.
Yeah. So just staying on top of your hydration. So making sure that you've got some water with you at all times, that you're actually drinking that water. Coffee, tea is also fine. Just making sure, like I said, you're balancing it out with lots of fluids. And then like the day or two before the race, throwing in a little bit of extra electrolytes. The one other piece is just kind of keeping it a little bit on the lighter side in those days leading up to the race. So maybe avoiding fattier foods or fried foods, just because a little bit more oil slows things down. You might not feel super great. So, save those vegan nachos for after the race instead of the day before. The night before, I love a great rice bowl with like some baked tofu and some really great vegetables and just like a light sauce. So other folks like pasta. It's fantastic. Whatever you love. Just keep it light, carb focused.
No, that's definitely a good plan. That's kind of what I always stuck to when I used to race a lot more personally before I started doing race directing is, the key rules are kind of nothing new, kind of like what you said, don't splurge on the nachos or anything like that. Don't do anything drastic and really just, focus on stuff that's going to help calm you down and preserve some of that energy so you're not burning it up in your gut the week of, leading into the race morning anxiety. So
yeah,
good stuff.
And keep in mind too, like a lot of folks for a sprint triathlon, even if you're a beginner, even if you're not planning to go out there and hammer it as fast as some of these elite racers, like you'll be out there for maybe a couple of hours. You don't need to go overboard with the carbohydrate loading the day before or the day of. So just kind of keeping it a little bit more carb focused. Again, not doing anything new, but you don't need to eat until you make yourself sick. So, it's kind of doing a lot of what you might normally be doing, just making sure that you are eating and you're getting yourself nourished.
Yeah, getting the good nutrients in. Excellent. Okay, so another popular question that I often get is, what is a good race day breakfast? What do I eat on the morning of? Do I try to eat more? Do I try to eat less? What's your kind of input? What's your feedback on that?
Yeah. So definitely give yourself enough time when you wake up in the morning to get breakfast in before you leave for the race venue. Because you want to make sure that whatever you're eating, especially if you have any race day nerves, that it's going to stay down. And you're not feeling like you have a gut bomb kind of sitting in your stomach. I love me a couple packets of instant oatmeal. Other folks might like just some slightly more processed, cereal or a couple slices of toast. I wouldn't do like a super protein heavy breakfast. That's just not really necessary. That's just going to sit in your stomach. We want easy to digest carbs.
Simple carbs. That makes sense.
Simple carbs. Absolutely. And instant oatmeal versus like steel cut or rolled oats, just because those process a little bit faster.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then if you're a coffee drinker, make sure you have your coffee. Make sure you have something to sip on between the time that you leave your house to when the race starts. So whether that's some water, maybe, an electrolyte drink with a little bit of, carbohydrates in it. I know you called me out at the last race that I was at because I like a Red Bull right before the race.
Fair enough. I did.
Yeah.
No, everybody's different, but yeah, stick to your personal preference, I guess. And that's, eat earlier if you can pre-race. I think that's what Deborah was kind of saying, just, so your body has time to digest before your nerves really kick in, before the gun goes off, before you're lining up on the beach. So, that makes perfect sense. So the next one that we kind of made a question list of is, will I need a lot of fuel during the race? Now, I can say that probably with sprint and super sprint, the shorter ones, folks don't need a ton of fuel, but it never hurts, in my opinion, and probably yours, to practice your fueling if you are using this as a practice race or you want to do a longer distance race in the future. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of like liquids or gels or, whole food, or is it really just kind of an experiment? What do you think?
Yeah, so there's a lot there. So one of the things we look at in terms of like fueling during a race is how long are you going to be out there and how hard are you going to be working? The lower your heart rate, kind of the easier it is to take in maybe like some trail mix or granola bar, like those more whole food options. The higher your heart rate, the harder your body is working. You're burning like straight carbs and you're probably going to want something that's really easily absorbed. So like a liquid or a gel. I love to take in all of my fuel like during a sprint race, like on the bike course. So having a water bottle, or, if you're a person that prefers the hydration vest, having some kind of carbohydrate fuel there. I know there's going to be water available on course during the bike. If you stop and fill up, you can confirm. But yeah, just having like your own, electrolyte drink, carbohydrate electrolyte drink that you prefer. There's loads of options out there. They're all going to be a little bit different in terms of which carbohydrates they're using, and in what proportion. So definitely find something that's going to work well for your body. There's more out there than just Gatorade. The sky's the limit, it seems, these days in terms of what's available either at your grocery store or a specialty shop or online through a lot of these retailers that cater to endurance athletes.
Yeah.
So there's not one in particular that I'm going to recommend to folks. It's really like, figure out what works for you, what flavor you like, what kind of carbohydrate your body's going to tolerate. So, like one bottle on the bike is going to be fantastic. And then making sure that maybe you get like a little bit of liquid in on the run as well. Or if you didn't take in as much on the bike as you expected, maybe you dropped your bottle, maybe like something happened, and that's okay. It happens. So luckily there's going to be stuff available on course, which you're going to talk about in a sec here. But just kind of making sure that if you need something during the run, really like slow down, walk through that aid station, communicate with the amazing volunteers who are going to be out there. Let them know what you need. They're there to help you. But yeah, definitely, taking a little bit of water on the run course or an electrolyte drink. If you're feeling like really light on calories, then take like a gel. Not like 5 of them. Take a gel or like a little bit of real food, and just make sure that you take the time to get it down instead of on you. So in you is helpful, on you less so.
Less helpful because the bees and the wasps are still out this time of year. Yeah. They're going to chase you around a little bit and follow you to the finish line. It's not always ideal. So,
and it's sticky.
Definitely.
No one likes sticky.
It's a sticky mess, And another thing too, kind of like what Deborah was saying, I'll chat very briefly now on what's available at the aid station at this upcoming race in a few weeks. Call out what you need. If you're approaching an aid station, whether it's on the bike or more so on the run, just kind of yell out, hey, I need water, or hey, I want electrolytes, or hey, I need a gel. Or of course, just like Deborah said, you can stop, you can walk, you can high five the volunteers, and you can check out what's available at the aid station, and take your time there. There's nothing that says you can't take 60 seconds and, get a little extra hydration, get a little extra electrolytes, and then, finish out the rest of your run feeling better overall. So yeah, to touch on that very briefly, at the aid station at this race, you will pass it theoretically on the bike once or twice, and you can stop, pull over, grab what you need. Even though it is a shorter bike course, generally if you have your water bottle pre-prepped with just hydration, water, or electrolytes, then you're pretty much set for the whole bike course. But there's nothing that says you can't stop. And you will pass that same aid station twice on the run course, no matter the distance, whether it's sprint or super sprint. There's fresh water. We have sweet tea electrolyte mix, so you get a little bit of salts, electrolytes, some calories in with that. It's very light on flavor. It's not overly doused with sugar or heavily processed stuff. There's a few simple ingredients and a little bit of caffeine in it, which is fine, gives you a little bit of an energy boost. And then we have just basic gels on the table. Some of them are like a maltodextrin type of fueling. Some of them are just straight maple syrup, which is really great because you get salts, electrolytes, 110 calories-ish per packet. And that's all available right there. And like I said, it's readily passed whether you're on the bike or the run course. So you don't necessarily have to load up, like Deborah said, grab 12 packets and take them with you and all that stuff. It's really not needed overall for a shorter course. But it's there and you pass it multiple times. So you can take one, see how you feel with it for the next mile or so of running. If you really feel you need another one to get that almost mile back to the finish line, then grab it. There's no harm in doing that. So yeah, that's in general where what's available. And you pass that usually once, twice. Yeah, twice on the bike course. So, a couple miles in, and then again, around mile 8 if you're doing the sprint, and then mile 1 and mile 2 on the sprint run course. So again, shorter distance, plenty of opportunities, plenty of things to grab for yourself as needed. So yeah, it's good stuff. So post-race, let's talk about some brief recovery. I can chat about what we'll have as a post-meal thing for athletes at the race, but what should folks focus on as they're starting to taper some of their training in the next couple of weeks to help them recover even quicker so they feel super fresh leading into race week, and then immediately after the race, maybe just beer and nachos? I'm kidding. What do you think's best?
So, one of the things I talk about a lot is making sure that you are eating. So, some of these workouts that you might be doing, especially if they've got a little bit of intensity to them, you might not feel like eating right away, but just make sure that within that first 30 minutes to an hour that you're sitting down and you're eating something. Ideally, you want it to be like nice and balanced. Like in a perfect world, wave a magic wand. Like, yeah, we're getting some good protein, we're getting some good carbohydrates, maybe some fruits and vegetables in there too. Um, so again, like all of your workouts and the race, like you want to make sure that you are refueling with at least something, that you're not just like going hungry and going about the rest of your day. You're gonna like not feel super great, in the long run if you're skipping meals. So, yeah, reaching for especially good carbohydrates, like right after your workouts, especially in that week leading up to the race. That's really where I tell folks, like, think your muscles are like a sponge. So you're wringing out the carbohydrates that are stored in your muscles during those last workouts. And then they're primed to like really soak things up like right after your workout. So making sure those carbohydrates, which is your body's main source of fuel, especially for high intensity stuff like you might be doing with a sprint or a super sprint triathlon. Yeah, making sure that you are getting, a good amount, making sure that that's not the only thing that you're eating. And I say eating, not just like drinking a recovery drink, getting some real food in you, whether that's like a sandwich, a bowl of cereal, leftovers from, dinner the night before, whatever it is, like it's really easy to find like a nice little balance there. But making sure that you are getting something is really important.
Yeah, don't skip the meals, because I used to train for longer distance races, again, when I was racing personally, and I don't want to say I would forget to eat, but I would forget to eat.
It
I don't know how else
happens.
to put it. And, I would have a light snack or light something afterwards, but, after a 2.5 hour workout, which is what I was doing years ago, a light snack doesn't cut it. You really have to get the carbs in and the good proteins, the plant-based proteins, and some fats. An avocado is a great way to fill yourself up. Avocado toast is a favorite go-to of mine, but do what works for you. And yeah, don't skip it. You will not feel good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, post-race, we will have all plant-based food. We'll have wonderfully salty potato chips. There is Beer Garden, sponsored by Loveland Ale Works. We will also have gluten-free beer options. We have our vegan plant-based grilled cheese sandwich. Deborah had it last year. She couldn't even remember the difference between
so
them.
good.
She loved it. She jumped up and down. She's racing again this year, so you guys have to come out and race against her, and then come back and race another year in the future after you've tried the whole plant-based conversion. And yeah, so that's kind of what our post-race looks like. We'll have water and snacks and fresh fruit. Usually we try to do watermelon or something citrusy. So, but yeah, that's kind of what we wanted to put together for you guys. I don't know if Deborah has anything else she might want to say, or pro tips from having raced and eaten plant-based for almost a decade and a half now.
It's play with it. There's so many options out there. I'm here as a resource for folks if they're thinking about going plant-based. If you're already plant-based, you just want to check in and make sure that you're getting everything that you need from your food, that you're supporting your body through all of these like awesome epic racing adventures that you're going on, or just life in general. That's literally what I do. So like JB said, I'll be there with the whole family. 3 of the 4 of us are racing. I'll be there with my
setup. She'll have a plant forward endurance nutrition booth. So after she's done, you can high five her. She'll be probably pretty sweaty, but that's okay. It's still good. You can hang out at her booth and pick her brain on nutrition. Ask her how her race went. You guys can chat about future plans, and I'll make sure, as we post this video online, you guys are starting to watch it, we'll have all our contact info and everything for you here. So it's readily available if anyone has questions, now kind of as we just get into September. Again, the last call triathlon's at the end of the month, so plenty of options. And, for those of you that are viewing on our page and may not want to race or, necessarily suit up on the 29th, feel free to come and volunteer or just come and spectate. It's always fun to cheer on athletes and get inspired, and you can still pick Deborah's brain. She'll be there in the vendor village area and just hanging out and having fun. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will talk with you again soon.